And don't forget to unmute the microphone.
Yes.
And start. Okay, cool. Perfect. No, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to the back. You're absolutely fine. I think we've got enough. I think I'm gonna move this one to the back actually. You don't think that? Right, everybody. Welcome to our May meetup. Thank you. You can see there's a lot of familiar faces, but for those who it's the first time today, I'll just give you a little introduction. So we're a .NET group, and we've got people. Well, there's a few .NET groups around me. I've heard of .NET North. We sit under the .NET umbrella. So there's a few .NET groups out there, and it helps us find speakers. And Microsoft also pay for our meetup meetup page as well, which is quite nice of them. So thank you to Microsoft for that. The event's run by our organisers, so I'm the founder. We've been running now for nearly up to 8 years, so we've been going for a few venues. Thank you for not going to Baltic Ventures. There was a slight change there with not much notice, but thankfully, thanks to Hyperloop as well, they managed to spot us for this venue, and Barclays Eagle House for getting us in. There's a lot of organising that goes into running something like this, so just a massive thank you to the organising sponsors and Samson at the back as well, because yeah, I won't be able to do this all by myself, especially with the venue finding, the ordering and everything else, and the live streams that we want to do as well. Thanks, Samson. Those, get onto that. Before I do, a special shout out to our only sponsor today, Hyperloop. Again, these events, just to give you a bit of an understanding for this event today, it's costing the region about £400, which is a little bit unsustainable for us. But thankfully, thanks to a sponsor and the way we've managed our budgets, it's allowed us to move forward and to be able to sustain ourselves for a few more months. But we're on the lookout for new sponsors. We're in talks with some potential new clients with venues, so we've got a lot of prospect for the future. But to help the community as well, you know, we are a free event. We never want this not to be a free event. We're looking at things, maybe offering a benefit package at £2 a month, where you can help support our local user group. And with that, you'll get access to the ability to vote on future meetup groups as like a voting poll, and also have priority access to some of the events as well, in case they do get booked up. So these are little things that we're trying to do, because again, these events are expensive to run, but I'm hoping that once we do get our venues set up, it's going to reduce the costs. But just a massive thank you for our sponsors for enabling us to be here today. JetBrains, they sponsor a lot of meetup groups, and what they allow us to do is to give away their products. They're about £100 for some of their subscription base. You get like ReSharp, there's a lot of nice tools out there, especially with AI. They've got some really nice AI solutions. So if you haven't already, I think Samson's done a really good job of getting everybody to do it on the way in. But if you haven't, feel free to pass this around if anybody needs. You can fill in a QR code. I'll give it to you. Cool. And that'll enable you at the end to win one of our ReSharp vouchers. We've got them in the back, and we can give that away at the end, thanks to some of the software that we've wrote to sort of raffle it out. All the stuff that we do today as well, including some of the raffle software, the website, we're completely open source. So again, you know, if you wasn't in the way in a position to help donate to one of our membership packages, the £2 a month, what you could also do is help contribute some of our code bases online, as well as to build up some recognition online as well on GitHub. Another thing as well, we're taking the time today. Me and Samson have, you know, we've decided to create a startup. The startups in the quality industry. So we're trying to build a platform out that utilizes AI to help match families and people who want to go away to their perfect destination. To do that today, we're just going to give you a quick slide and let you know that if you are wanting to book any holidays or any hotels, whether that be business or for pleasure, reach out and consider us, because it'll help grow our startup. We are recording at the back. This is live streamed on YouTube. And I've took a few pictures today. If you don't want to be in any of them, we'll try our best to take you out. Just let us know. And I'll pass you on to Saeed. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. In this session, we are going to talk about how to use AI in a good way and stop doing just kind of prototype in our application, just prove that AI is working, and then prepare ourselves to have a production that AI is embedded all in .NET application. So maybe today you got some idea to build your own product, because we as a developer, eventually we are the one that build the software. So why not try it by ourselves? Maybe can be a good one. My name is Saeed Ismail. I'm a Microsoft MVP, currently working at Leeds Building Society as a senior .NET developer. Yes, I'm from Leeds, coming here to give this talk. So the question is why we need integration, why we need AI integration into our product. So nowadays, probably after 2022, the ChatGPT came for us and using by everyone now. Users start feeling that AI is a expected thing in all the products, no matter website, mobile, all these devices. So users start expecting that if I go to this website, I should see some sign of AI. Otherwise, there is a problem with that, maybe that product. So they expect intelligent. Means the website that you have to go, like the static experiences, going many places, navigate through the website, click multiple places, going to that menu just for seeing what you want. Versus if there was a prompt that you say, I need this shoe type, and then that AI will go search, give it to you. And then if you think about it, if you have a kind of friend in your product that every time that user logged into your product or website, mobile, then saying, hi, how are you? Last day you weren't that good. How are you today? Something like that, that it is knowing the user, personalized context, and that is gives a good feeling to the user to use your product. And as I said, it is becoming a expected feature. If you remember, like maybe 10, 20 years ago, if I go to a website that they didn't have mobile application, I start asking why they don't have a mobile application, why every time I have to open up my browser to just go through this website. If they have a mobile application, it is handy to use. So now AI is becoming like that. And all the companies trying to kind of inject AI, good or bad, just to the label, we are using AI. And of course, if you don't use AI, you cannot make money for your business. You have to integrate AI into your product, not just experimentation, not just saying, this is working fine, but when it comes to product, how to use it properly. So in this session, we are just trying to going around it, how we can do it. Okay, for AI, it is two big sides of the AI. The first one is AI for the code, I call it like that, which basically all the tools. Currently, it is out there, Cloud Code, Copilot, all those codex stuff, nice stuff for code generation. It is just for doing some stuff for you. But there is another part as well that is using AI into our application, the AI itself, which in this session, we are trying to do that. So in very high level, if we want to see how we can integrate AI into the application, basically, it is just you have a front end, mobile web, send a prompt to your backend side. Your backend will send that prompt to some LLMs, no matter what kind of models you're going to use, GPT, Anthropic, all those LLMs. And then they will give you a response based on the incoming prompt. You may want to save it to a database and then, yeah, return the response to the user. So it is a very high level, but if you think like this side, you can see it as a third-party API, right? As a backend developer, we already have some API to call, some external services that we are already using. You can see that LLM also like that, but maybe with a little more thing in this session we're going to talk that we need to care about. So this is the whole flow using that chat completion API, which it was probably maybe a few months after the ChatGPT came, and the community trying to build some, let's say, SDK, a package to how to connect to the LLM, exactly the pure LLM, to just interact with LLM itself. And yeah, this is the example. Raise your hand if you are using or use the chat completion in .NET. All right, good, nice. We're gonna hear more about it. So this chat completion is basically, you give it a URL, a model name, like here we are using Azure OpenAI, and then also, if your application running inside the Azure, you can use the Azure credential, or simply you can use the API key as well to connect to the model, and then create that iChat client. This iChat client is a unified interface. It is part of the Microsoft.extensions.ai, which kind of unified all the methods that you can use to deal with the different providers for LLMs. So it made it really easy. So it doesn't matter that you're going to use GPT models or Gemini or all those models. So you're dealing with the same interface. And then this is the code sample of the chart. This is the, like, if you want to send a prompt to the LLM, you get the prompt from the user, put into the chat history, and then here actually you can just pass that chat history to chat client, get a streaming. A streaming or response depends on the use cases, but a streaming is better. And then you will get the text as a response from the LLM. You show it to the user probably, because this is the console application, right? The simple one. And then add that message to the chat history, and same again. Another one from user, another one. So this is the simple usage, but there is a problem here. If you see this code, definitely you can see this chat history, the array one, that every time user add the prompt to the chat history, also you adding the LLM response as well to that one, and going on, if it is getting bigger and bigger, every time you have to pass all of the chat history to the LLM. Means, one, performance issue, bigger one. Second, means consuming more tokens from the LLM. Means when you have a big context, mostly LLMs doesn't work properly, and they slow down, probably going more into the hallucinations. So that's the problem with the iChat or chat completion API, which in this session, we are going to address that. So yeah, as I said, this OpenAI API calls are stateless, which is the big problem here. You lose context every time each time you call that LLM. Once it gives you the response, forget about you. And then after that, that is the main reason you always need to provide that chat history to give the LLM enough context that what's going on in this conversation. And then the LLM can respond based on the history of the conversation. Storing history manually, it can be error prone. We know that as a developer, if I want to say every time insert or update the data to database, it can be, there is always, external services. One is network. What if database was down? What if there is some exception? You have to retry again. You have to, I don't know, plan many things just for doing it manually. And of course, when you're doing these stuff on your own, definitely there will be some security issues as well, such as prompt injection. And then we're going to solve that with Azure OpenAI responses. Previously, it was called OpenAI Assistant, which today I got email from Microsoft that they're going to retire this OpenAI Assistant soon. So, but I'm going to start with the assistant to go through that and then talking about the responses. Both of them trying to achieve the same goal, but different ways. Assistant is a little more complex to work with, maybe one of the reasons that they are trying to replace with the responses. So what they want to do, what was the goal or purpose for having this OpenAI assistant? This is specifically for OpenAI models, ChatGPT models, and any other models doesn't have this feature. So the purpose was to enable developers to have a co-pilot experience for the end users, having an assistant that it can be customized for specific duties. So the second one is saying about the customization. It is the most important part of it, which basically adding instruction. So all the assistant is nothing just an LLM, one LLM with a good instruction. That instruction means you tell the LLM what you have to do, what you must not do. Some kind of responsibilities that you need to define and structure that LLM will follow. And this, in the demo, we will see. We give instruction to my LLM, and LLM is just doing what I ask, nothing else. This OpenAI assistant also can use tools such as file search, code interpreter, or also custom function calling. So if the functions, the problem with the LLM, the data would be soon expired. You cannot guarantee that the LLM always has the latest data, let's say. What we can do, we can create some function or the tool to be called during the conversation. Like if you ask, what is the weather in the London right now, they don't have the data. But you can add, you can call the weather forecast APIs to just feed the LLM the updated data. And yes, they have their state management, which is the most good one, because as we said before, the chat completion API, they are stateless. And here they have a stateful way, and then you can be sure that you don't want to care about all of those sending every time the chat history. So here it's just stateful. They know user what they are talking about. And another reason maybe it's good to think that nowadays we are hearing more about layoff, right? Companies laying off thousands of people. So if you think about it, it's not just about developers. It is also about the different people, like customer service, like sales. And if you're like curious how, because we as a developer, we are mostly working with the tools to do our daily job, Cloud, Copilot. But when it comes to the companies that they have products, how they gonna replace? It is by implementing AI, just like this session we're gonna see, that for example, if someone says, how are we gonna like replace people with the AI? Not completely, definitely, but just getting help from AI to improve the service, this is the way. And for example, the customer service may be one of a good example, I would say. The anatomy of the assistant, if we like seeing the assistant as a whole, it contains threads, and this threads has multiple messages. You can see threads as a conversation. If you go to the ChatGPT, always in the left side, you have the conversation list. Each of those conversations is a thread here, which if you open it, it will load the messages again. And we have the run again. This run means every time in the assistant, user send a message and then saying, now I need a response from the LLM. Then we run this assistant with the threads and the messages. We are telling for this thread and all of the messages that you already have, run it based on the new message from user. The problem here, well, basically it is working, but one of the reasons that assistant not that good is they don't respond immediately. They are just creating an object of run, and then you have to ask it again. What was the run status? I call it like 1 second before. They call it again until you get the status successful or fail or expire or whatever. So that is that loop. It can be annoying things when working with the assistant. So the key point about the assistant is they are stateful and they persist the state and tools, all those instructions that you gave it before. So every time during the conversation, they can refer to those instructions or tools and automatically call them. They can maintain memory, which is a good one. They can remember about the user, about the old conversation. And as it is part of the Azure AI services, you can get the enterprise security as well, not 100%, but still better than if you're doing it on your own. All right, so now let's go quickly to how to create an assistant. Basically, again, we need to have the Azure OpenAI client. We are using just like the chat completion. The API key, API endpoint, and then here, after like this Azure OpenAI client, you can call this method get assistant client. And then all the way down, we're gonna see that you need to use this client. Here, create assistant, which is here is programmatically by like in the code, you create an assistant based on the model name and then the instruction you give, the temperature, name, whatever. So also we're going to see in demo, I'm going to create an assistant into the Azure portal and then reference only the ID of that assistant into my code to just reuse it. Right, so two ways of creating assistant. Another one is, as I said, after the assistant created, we need to create a thread. Every time you create a thread, and then you add the message to that thread as a conversation. And then here it is the run. You run, saying create run based on the thread ID, And then here, this is the way to pass the assistant ID. In my code is like that because I'm reading the assistant ID from my settings, which is in the Azure. And then, so here this run is just created an object and then saying you have to call me again. So here in the loop, until it is in the queue or in progress, you have to call it until you get either completed or other statuses. If it is completed, means the LLM provide that a message for you. You can just call it, get the message, and show it to the user. We're going to see the full code in the demo. Okay, that's fine. Let's see some code here. So this is the place that I was talking. So the Azure OpenAI, this is Azure Foundry. So we have lots of options here that we are not going to talk about them. I'm going to talk about this assistant. So in this one, this is the ID that we can use, just copy paste this ID and then use it in our code. And you can select different models, which I am using GPT-4o mini, the cheapest one. And here is the instruction that I said, this is the most important part of the whole of this solution, I would say. Because this instruction will drive the LLM. If you define it correctly, you can get the best value out of it. Currently for this demo, it is a very simple one. I am telling the LLM, you are an AI assistant that only talks about food based on the user mood. And also remember what the user mood was, remember some personal info, like name if they put for you. So this is a very simple one, but in the real application, you're going to have a very big instruction to well structure and well define the responsibility. Okay, so that is it. And this is the code, very simple Blazor application, which I have a different implementation for the conversation service. Before checking the code, let's just run the application. Let's see what is my product. Maybe someone wants to buy it. So this is Mood Bytes. And here you can ask the LLM, because I put the instruction, you are AI assistant that suggests the food based on user mood, right? So here, so kind of this is a very simple one, but I wanted to simulate the real product. So given that you have a product, many users coming to your website. So here, after user login, for example, I put my name. So I'm just saying hello. If it is working, yes. Yeah, as you can see, because I put the instruction for it, right away it's saying, how are you feeling today? Because it tries to get the information from me about my feeling, then suggest the food. That's it. So if I said I am excited, let's see what kind of food can suggest. Suggested tacos, loaded nachos. Okay, maybe for when you're excited, you can try that, right? So in the middle of like, I am using this product, another user comes in, like I can say, Josh, how are you feeling today? Happy, right? So right away, I just want to say happy. Let's see, without giving any more context to it. All right, so what kind of food? rich chocolate cake, bowl of fresh fruit salad. Probably for two different type of people when they are happy someone. And then if I go back to my conversation, this is in the application, I just using some in-memory storage for the messages. And then here, I will ask it, what was my mood? Yeah, so your mood is excited, all right, something like that. And then maybe Josh wants to challenge the LLM, talking about something. Tell me about UK history. This question is not related to the food, which basically in that instruction I said, you only talk about food based on the user moods. So let's see if not breaking. I am all yes. So here you see the LLM has a wide range of knowledge, but you have to narrow the knowledge. And the other day I was talking with one of my friends. He was saying, well, once my ChatGPT limitation, the free one, is done, I go to another website and then I start using their LLM to answering my question because they didn't put a good instruction to not answering like unrelated question to their product. They open it because LLM is open and they can answer anything they know. But here, we just, because if it is like we are talking about production, right? If you want to have a good production, you cannot openly putting some LLM there into your website and then everyone trying to misuse it. But yeah, it can have British dishes. So because it is about the food, let's see if it's correctly answered. It's a little maybe historical. Oh, yes. But you said classic breast. Okay. Classic British dishes, exactly what it suggested. Okay, actually, I focus on food, on your mood. All right, yeah, answer something. Fish and chips, shepherd pie, you know better than me. But yeah, this is kind of the things that it is using AI into the code with that instruction. So that was like, again, let's see some code. And this is, I am using this assistant. Basically, there is assistant client, which every time I injected the Azure OpenAI client, which here using the dependency injection, I put it as a singleton because just one time per application. And then I just reuse that client into my service. And then let's go down to, yes, here, create the message for user for this thread. And then here is the run every time. Coming here, if it was completed, then you get the message and you only show the, because in the, as we said, this is a stateful, right? It's not chat history every time you provide. Those messages are stored on the LLM side, on the Azure OpenAI side. So once you get messages async for this thread, it will give you the list of the messages. So automatically, you're passing the messages from the user, but on the OpenAPI side, when they responded, they automatically added that message as a assistant to the list of messages. So once you get the get messages async, you will get a collection that there is a message with role assistant. And then basically you just get the text and you put the rest of the things in the, like the UI I'll put the rest of the things is around the Blazor. This code, all of it is on my GitHub as well. So later on, you can go run it and dive to the code more. So if we go back to the stuff here, so as I said, the assistant is retired, and we need to move to newer version. Basically, it is recommended way. If you right away, maybe late tonight, you're gonna try it, maybe, then better to use the responses API. So basically, it is just rebranding, I would say, with some changing on that anatomy. So prompts, threads to conversation, which is better, I would say. Run is also the responses and the items. So let's go here. I am not gonna put much time. I am just trying to show you here how I use the responses, which basically I have another implementation for the same interface, but now I'm using responses client, right? And yeah, same Azure OpenAI client. And right away down, we have, yes. So every time here, I will create options with the same instruction that I put in that OpenAI Azure portal. I just put it here, the same behavior. And so I forgot about one thing as well. So you also can add those tools. So these tools are like the web search. So if you add it, like if you're asking something that it's not in their knowledge, they will use web search tool, which basically is just like Googling. If they don't have that things, they Google it, and then they will give you the response. Here it is, the things about your question. And also they can use MCP servers. In the responses, you can add or inject more MCP servers, which really good, right? So these MCP servers, currently, like many companies, they are trying to expose their MCP servers as well, like Airbnb, Google Drive, all those companies. This MCP server is like the API. If you're like exposing some APIs for the user publicly, you need to expose the MCP servers then to be used by the LLMs, right? Okay, and then it is all the way down. Only thing about the responses, so those assistants were storing all of the messages automatically. But here we need to tell the LLM every time what was the previous response you gave me, the response ID. Okay? And then you will give that previous response ID to the LLM, and it will understand, okay, this was the last conversation, last message I gave it to the user. Then it will reload all those memory for itself, and then response based on the new message. And then same goes, I will say create response, getting the response from the LLM. As you can see in the responses, there is no a kind of need for that looping. Again, for calling and then making sure that the response is there. It is right away giving you the response, and yeah, getting the output, and then set the response ID, reuse it for the next one. So that is it. I will quickly run one more time to make sure it shouldn't be any changes basically for it. And I will go with my friend name, Farid. How are you feeling today? Good. Okay, you're good. Any more feeling like, I don't know, let's say I am Farid and good. Let's see if there is some foods. Colorful fruit. Okay, it seems like this LLMs try to be healthy, healthy foods. Always like a bowl of fruits or. All right, so here also, as we see, let me put a breakpoint here just for the quickly getting what is doing. And let's say, what is my name? Okay, so here we can see the response. Yeah, your name is Said, and then your name is Farid, actually, not Said. And then this is the response ID. So it is a unique ID every time. You have to save it for yourself. Still, there should be kind of a work around it, but it gives you the main thing, that stateful, that you just need probably for each user, you have to have this the table or to save the data, to save this kind of last response ID from your LLM. And then once it select one of those history of the conversation, it will just send this response ID rather than saving all of those message histories. Okay, perfect. In this project also, I have using the original OpenAI Nugget package as well, because here we are using, if we see here, we are using the azure.ai.openai, but also there is another .NET package called OpenAI, which I assume it will be, this one also will be retired, and then community saying, just go and use the OpenAI, why not? Why we are just wrapping the Nugget packages? Because here it is the reference, the OpenAI. All right, so that is it. And I will now ask you a question. Yes, with the red background. How to write the test for an LLM? Because if we are talking about the production, if we are talking about writing a product that working good, you have to have tests. Well, basically, you can ship without having tests, but not going to be a good product. So, any idea how to write the test for the LLM? Yes, Josh? Evaluators, evals. That's one of them. Yeah, because LLM, by nature, they are undeterministic. You cannot predict them. You ask the same question, every time they answer different wording. So that agent eval or all of those evaluation, they are there. Also, I was working on this package called dtester. So basically, it is just trying to write some deterministic and reliable tests for the AI application. If you check this one, it's basically what I did here is working with the iChat client, so it is unified. You can provide all the models here. And then here, this is how it is working. You give it the instruction, you give the prompt, and multiple prompt with the response, but the simple one is like that. With the prompt, explain quantum computing in simple terms, the response should have quantum, something like that. And also the chaining assertions and JSON validation, very good one, because I had implemented these things in my product. And one of the reasons it was annoying, I gave the LLM to return the response in a JSON format. So I didn't want to get a text and doing lots of magic, extract this part, put it in this property, and then I define the instruction to always return JSON in the JSON format. So every time it just beautifully structured the response in a JSON format, but sometimes it just returns something else. So by this way also you can check the output, some function calling as well. Yeah, all of it. Have a think about it. Probably, I mean, because it is not deterministic, then probably, I don't know. You need to figure it out. Yes.
Can that then be used deterministically, or do you have it to contextually jailbreak? All those other lovely fun things people ask for.
Well, yeah, can be. I'm not sure. I mean, that's this deterministic. I mean, going on, if you see this AI, the whole industry trying to evolve with these LLMs, I can see that many other like packages or the products, they are trying to prove that you can actually kind of manage the LLM. And because like, well, companies saying, if I cannot write the test to make sure it is all the time responding back some expected responses, no matter the wording, but at least the correct answer to the user, I cannot trust. So yeah, that's the way. Well, I have one bonus slide as well, which is not currently maybe not related to the whole context of this session, but I kind of like to mention it here, and because it is using behind the scenes these kind of things that we just talked. Microsoft Agent Framework. Anyone heard used? Good one. Yeah. So it's a very young one, I would say. It's 1.6, I think, now. But basically, Microsoft trying to build a framework for creating agents, orchestrating them, and all of those nice stuff. But again, this is going to be using inside the code. When we are talking about agent, well, if you have a solution, like someone asks you something, I was watching some videos on YouTube that they were talking about insurance. So someone will send some kind of images of the car, the crashes, or something like that, and the AI based on those images were like processing. Is it valid? Is it like kind of fake? And they give it a long file based on all of those criteria to decide whether it is getting any claims or not, or all of those, all with the agents. So these agents, when agents, probably it's a very like common word nowadays in the AI, but AI is nothing just an LLM in a very simple word. One LLM and with one instruction. You define what it needs to do, and then it will go. This framework will provide more stuff for the agents for doing the nice things. So I have one example here to run, which I got it from one of the Microsoft repositories. I'm not going to go to the code. I just want to show you how it is working, which I have actually, let me see, maybe, yeah, because I need this prompt. This is a Aspire application, which running few stuff for the agent framework. And here we can see this dev UI. So basically what it has is having the project called Interview Coach. So it's helping you. You're saying, this is my resume and this is the job description. Help me to interview. And then they will kind of simulate the situation. There is a receptionist to get your resume to check whether the resume is matched with the job description, and then the behavioral interview, then the technical, then summarizer, some kind of all agent, different agent, but as an orchestration, right? So here, if I put that the prompt, I'm saying, here is my resume with this your link, and this is the job description. So it goes downloading the PDF, extracting the text, and start checking the stuff. So what I'm going to show you is just, I really like the way that they are interacting to each other. So sometimes it doesn't work because it's still here also I'm using the chat GPT 4.0. So if it is working, so it is completed, means receptionist probably didn't find any relative information in the job description and my resume. So I will run it again. Hopefully it goes to the second step. Let's see if it is working. So here you can see the nice stuff, the events that the agent is doing. Is if you check those logs, it's just like someone doing something because they are interacting to each other. And yeah, so also the tools they are calling, as you can see, it is updating for interview resume link, and then user has provided their resume and job description for intake. Yeah, so this kind of the events and tools you can make sure when you're using your orchestration for the agents. Basically, by this way, you can debug your AI. Another thing, this is the, as I said, the Aspire one. This is the actual web UI, basically. That one is for debugging your agents, how they are interact or connect, how they are passing. There are different ways of the orchestrating, sequential, parallel, mesh. This is the handoff, the different way of orchestrating. Basically, handoff is like you have 5 agents, they can like hand over different responsibilities to each other. And here also, this is the same, but kind of the simple UI, which will be doing the same thing, but here now, it is waiting for the user prompt. For example, that behavioral coach will start asking you some question, and then you will give the response as a real interview. So let's not wait for here. I just wanted to show you one thing that is related to our session, and that is here. As you can see, also in this project, not the agent framework itself, but this project, they are using OpenAI responses. Why? Because agents wants to have the context about the interviewee, right? They are talking to each other. They need to remind what was the previous state, what was the interview, during the interview, what kind of conversation exchanged. So yeah, this is the way to go with this stateful responses. And I think that was my latest one. Yes. If you have any questions, I'm sure you have lots of questions.
Just before we go into questions,
Yeah.
Our live stream's doing pretty well, so can we have a hand, show of hands, just so I can pass you the microphone if there's any questions. Yeah, thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for that. That was great. I was just curious. So you talk about state management from specifically conversation history.
Yeah.
Have you seen anything in sort of these frameworks and so on that seek to think about how state management works for things similar to the way OpenClaw works, in that like writing things down, reading them later, that kind of management? Have you seen anything in the Microsoft stack that does that?
Well, here in the Microsoft Agent, you can provide the agent framework. You can provide your own storage, let's say, because by default, I mean, basically those open responses also, they have the truncation strategy. It doesn't mean they have always keep all those messages. At some point they are saying it's going to be 1 million token. I cannot hold all of those messages. Then they will start truncating or compact, just like the tools we are using, right? In the agent framework, also, you can provide your own storage of the messages. By default, this is in-memory storage for the messages, all those interaction. I didn't work with the OpenClaw, the framework, but here also you can provide your own, either with database or every time provide the messages for the framework.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Yes. Thanks for the breaking the ice. Always the first one asking a question. Well,
My question, thank you for your present. My question is about the what's called the tester package.
yes.
So I was just trying to understand, how it sits with testing that LLM, because I was just thinking, is it not something that a normal unit testing framework can do? Like writing, because I can see you wrote the assertions, these are things that you can probably mix up together to check what the response is and, make your assertion and return the responses. So I was just trying to understand, where does it sit between, the normal unit testing framework and also the tester, does it have a user interface where it tests response and, gives result as well?
Yeah, so you can think in that way. You have a website that you put a online chat, right? That you think that your LLM will work to answering as an online support. You have something for I don't know, online shopping, right? User has some problem with the payments or already paid but didn't get the order, right? You already implemented the feature into your backend side, into your application, but there should be a way to verify. You cannot just open it publicly and someone going there to just getting the user feedback, right? Your users are not your testers, right? So that is the way you're defining the instruction all the way that you expect it to be, and then you're asking questions. Oh, sorry. And then you're trying to test the LLM. You put that instruction, you're a assistant to answer, I don't know, payment problem, for example. Now you simulate the flow, user comes saying, I got a problem with this payment ID, right? So you're expecting the LLM responding something back that, for example, this payment ID with this information, which already you have it on your test context or mocked services. So if it is responding like that, then you can ship that feature. Otherwise, it is on the fly. You're writing something that you're not sure that will be working on the end user. So that the whole context of this testing, I would say, will be sitting both in the unit test and integration test and in end-to-end test. Because usually the end-to-end test is, I would say, most reliable one, because most of these pieces of the application will stick together and start working if they are good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does it have the second leg of the question? Does it have a user interface, the tester, or it's just the code on the back end
Well,
that does the
that's the user interface is still, it doesn't matter, right? You have the UI that there is a chat. It doesn't matter that user clicks on that button to send prompt, or on the backend side, you call the API directly to send that prompt. The user is a matter of like, I mean, the UI is working correctly or not, which of course you have a test for it as well. But in the LLM side, it is just that point is matter. Sending something, getting the response from it. Yeah.
Thank you.
So with the testing stuff, I'm just a bit conflicted in the deterministically testing something that is interministic, because basically the question I have is what exactly is the aim, like what's achieved to with the test, like what's the
What's the
purpose?
goal?
Yeah, what's the goal? What's actually being tested? Because with the example usages I've seen, we are testing individual response words. Did you hit this or not hit this, which is very flaky at the very least, I'll say, for a test.
Yeah.
And with the unit test bits, we could test tools individually, etc. So for an LLM itself that does two calls, it's very undeterministic what tools it chooses to use unless you decide to constrain the amount of tools it has access to a single one, and enforce that it always uses that tool, etc. So basically, what is like the
No, it's not explicitly. So when it comes to the tools, actually those tests, maybe for just checking the response, not a good example of it is one of that. But basically, as you said, simply you can just doing some assertion. But when it comes to the tools, because I would call it raw LLM, right? Just using that LLM is just for having that conversation. But when it comes to the tools, and when it has a list of tools available to use, what it does basically, when you have 100 tools, tools means either MCP, either your custom tools that you write and added to the flow of the LLM. On every prompt, it tries to ping them, or based on those descriptions you put for the Azure, the functions, it tries to see either one of them or some of them, it's matched with this prompt. For example, if I put the weather forecast tool to the LLM, it doesn't call that tool unless I am talking about weather forecast. I'm talking about, okay, what's the weather in the Leeds? Now, because it doesn't have that knowledge, it try, okay, is there any available tool to call? Then it will be called that my tool. And then that test, one of the good things is about, because you're expecting your LLM to pick those tools correctly based on different situations. So one of the things here, it was talking about verifying tool call, right? That tool call is when you want to make sure, in that example, for example, in the online shopping, when your user wants to put the payment problem, means if it is like pointing some specific payment identifier, probably you will have some MCP to connect to your database as well. So you're expecting, if I am talking about my problem related to the payment, then like payment API should be called, like the tools here. But still, I agree, maybe it's not 100% guarantee that this will be correctly verified, the LLM, but still, I would say it's a nice to have, rather than not having anything to verify your LLM.
I do agree with the tools call. My major conflict was value compared to the effort in writing the tests in the first place. So basically, test is you have tests because you have something that automated in your build pipeline that you are deterministically sure 100% of the time if it's green, then in production you get the same behavior. So if we test something that's undeterministic that we know might fail 80% of the time, we basically have zero, not zero, but less value in putting that in a build pipeline in the first place. So like basically what the benefit as opposed to the effort in actually doing it.
Well, yeah, that can be. You're talking about having a score to the response, or
So basically the benefit of doing the tests if they're not 100% deterministic all the time, because the tests are basically sat in your build pipeline.
and failing.
Yeah, so if they're not 100%,
Well, no, that's not true, because, well, we are maybe it's also flaky test if their failure rate is high, but basically I agree that for some complex usage, maybe every time is returning some different responses, but you can have score. For example, I have another things few days ago I was working on it. Oh, yes. You see? So this kind of like, I put the pass rate. So I call it 10 times. If from 10 times, 80% also pass, I am happy. This is passed. If not because never can be 100%. It is maybe they're all failure rate. But if from it is less than 80%, then this is a problem, right? You put a capacity to be for the failure, it's fine for you, for your product, because as you said, like this, they are undeterministic, so it's fine. Sometimes they are going out of the responsibility. But by this way, I would say this is better one. You have a score to your LLM. 2 tests failed, 8 pass, then you behave with it like a pass, like a green test. Yeah, hopefully it was helpful.
See that? Run for it. What kind of defensive strategies do you put on to sort of protect the AI agent against nefarious or bad actor use? Would you use like a tester framework in the middle to basically test whether responses are as expected, or would you put more kind of blacklist or whitelist kind of scenarios into the chat to make sure that people aren't trying to jailbreak it?
It's a very complicated scenario. Yes. This is also, I mean, this is a very simple one, to be honest. It's just like I was just doing this kind of things. That is the minimum one, I would say, to have this kind of things. But also, you have to have, like, as you said, maybe blacklist or some kind of blocking list of content that they try to ask, such as the food, right? Like that food, you can have it as a banking system, but they are trying to asking some questions that are not in the LLM responsibility. And they will right away push back for the response. But still, to be honest, I mean, also, if you remember in the beginning of the ChatGPT, they are trying to asking some question like 10 way around. It just like try to confuse the LLM and then bypass all of those rules. So I would say it should be a mix of the ways of like achieving that goal to protect, either like by having these tools and also second validation of the response, and maybe passing the response to different models from ChatGPT to the Anthropic to like this, some kind of things that you're making sure you're not relying only on the one model that can bring some like false information, and then you will like protect yourself with another checking, let's say. Yeah, but very hard to achieve, I would say.
Amazing. So we've got a few questions online as well. Just amazes me that we've got people. Just a quick shout out. We've got people from Brazil, Austria on here, and it's really nice just to see that wider community. So yeah, hello to everybody on the live stream. So we've got can adding protobuf to an LLM request and response reduce the token size and improve performance?
Not really. Well, that protobuf, as you know, it is converting the text to a format as a binary to just compacting the final output. But LLM doesn't understand. They are all generative AI. They have to have the human words to understand what you need. Maybe by when it comes to store those messages, as we were talking about, like having the storage, you can either have this kind of like compacting by using probably protobuf or some other stuff to have just less things in the storage side, but for the LLM, no. I mean, yeah, because as we said, it is human behavior. Yeah.
Amazing. And one question for myself. So one of the Foundry for Microsoft
Yes.
is still in preview,
Yeah.
and they changed something the other week that was to do with the chat. So we have like a custom chat, and the users need AI Azure user, and they changed the name of it. So this is still pretty new from Microsoft. It's still in preview. So what's your thoughts on? And I know you need Foundry for like the access and the OpenAI models, but would you have any caution around using some of these things for production use?
Well, I'm still using this assistant, but I have to change it, as you said, because they are deprecating this assistant. And also that is another reason I said that we also need to migrate to the OpenAI Nugget package even, because that Azure AI.OpenAI, probably that will be deprecated soon, because it is like redundancies, some logic here, some logic there. So they will unify. I mean, probably Microsoft like to have everything under their name, but this is OpenAI product at the end. So they will be using the thing. So I rather prefer using this Azure OpenAI model, but using the OpenAI Nugget package, which I am kind of independent from all of this option here. So whatever the model itself providing, I will use it as an OpenAI. And then this assistant, basically it was from the OpenAI, and OpenAI said, we will be deprecated. They deprecate this assistant, and using the response, Microsoft has to follow, because it is just like the main owner is saying we will deprecate. Yeah, but you're right. Nowadays, everything kind of under experiment. But no, to be honest, as you can see, all of them are a preview. How is it possible? It was like probably 1.5 years ago, I see that one, but it's still in preview, these stuff. But one thing to remember is you have to, you cannot wait for getting the stable version. Yes, it will be changed, it will be deprecated, but you got the fundamental of how they are working. As we said, assistant changed to responses, but they are the same at the end. At least they want to do the same goal that we want for as a stateful, right? Maybe naming or change, but if you want to wait until you get the stable version, probably too long. All right.
No more questions?
Guys, you're gonna miss it. Thank you.
Brilliant. So we're going to close there. We're going to stop the live stream, but before we do, I just want to thank everyone for joining us on there, and especially everyone for attending as well. You know, it's great to be able to invite you all. It's a great privilege for me to be able to run these groups, and everybody, including the organisers, the volunteers, and everyone who puts themselves out today, you know, helps make that possible. Selfishly for me, I get to, you know, bring the speakers in as well for things I'm working, I want to know. It's a great benefit for me running these things as well. So I just want to thank everyone for helping me as well, you know, put this together. We're going to stop the live stream. So thanks everyone there. If you like and subscribe, that'd be great, and obviously help us. And now we're going to go on to the raffle, and then we can end the day.